Hi, this is Ellen Francisco. Thanks for coming to my channel. I wanted to talk about the energy coming up this week. We're heading towards a blue moon at the end of the month at October 31st. It's moving into Taurus for that full moon. Wow. So how I'm feeling it is it's all first, second, third, and fourth chakra this coming week. And the fact that it's first, I feel like people are really looking at some of their core issue fears, core issue um, hesitances, things where they can't meet themselves authentically, or places where they're resistant to do that inner work where they could be comfortable with themselves. So I think we're all being asked to be more present with our old pains. We have an opportunity to cycle into a completion of a lot of old things that have held us back and held us down and tortured our hearts for a really long time. So whether that's an early childhood dynamic or just a very negative section of life that kind of pummeled you emotionally, the parts of these things that haven't been resolved is really what we have the opportunity to circle around again, once more around the drain. It's, to me, I feel like by the time October's done, we're pretty much done our year. Like, that's, to me, it's, yeah, that's the energy around November is kind of where I feel like our new year begins. So even though we're waiting another couple months for a new year to begin, there are many influences that are renewed by then. So decisions that you might have lagged on or didn't want to make decisions on, and now you're finally facing this week, almost like the writing's on the wall. You have to accept certain things. There are certain things you can't deny anymore. There's no mistaking it. So now you've got this course of action as a result. So it can be a little turn on the dime energy this week too, in the coming weeks right after the moon as well. So what's going on is I feel like people really want to have a product of the work that they put into everything in their life. So whether that's, putting a lot of work into your career or into your family or whatever it is, there are parts of us that need to see the manifestation of that. And a lot of what's going on right now is we're really not manifesting it in the way that we want to see it. We're more still in the planning and rearranging and re-coordinating phase. So you may get some little dribs and drabs of the signs that things are coming, but I feel like it's after, well into November, hitting the new moon coming up, then that'll sort of launch some things in a better way, and things are going to be more direct. But for the most part, I think people are going to be dealing with this discomfort in their physical structure based on the emotions that they haven't really, assimilated fully, right? Like, nobody really wants to accept hard emotional truths, and nobody really wants to have to speak about them. But a lot of what this year has been for is to sort of rub up against the things that aren't serving us, that aren't really in our authentic selves, that really aren't what spirit or the gods that be want us to do. So we do have a responsibility to ourselves, regardless of what's going on in the world, to take care of that in ourselves. And part of the problem in this whole phase that we're going through is that a lot of people have built their structures with relationships that don't serve them in it. And they've had to dismantle a lot of these relationships that are either, ill-willed or ill-timed, or whatever they are. They're just not, where you need to be now. So, yeah, so then you've got to deal with, well, that I didn't do it right, and all that was wrong, and all this self-incrimination and self-judgment. And it's not really the time for self-judgment. It's way more in tune to be just relaxing and surrendering to the fact that it was never meant to be perfect to begin with, right? We were meant to be challenged and torn up against the wall and having parts of ourselves ripped open so that we could grow. And and we're really being called upon to finish this healing. Like, let's not drag, you know, an emotional state of being that's 20 years old into any time past November 15th. That's how I'm feeling. And it's almost like this whole wall, you know, we're moving into a newer sense of everything by then. Not to say that there still isn't work to do in, I guess, the surrender. Um, but yeah, this sense of things are building. It's not as much pressure building. It's more that our resilience is being tested more this week, where it's like we've seen this sense of a home stretch. We're in the home stretch. We're in the home stretch. And it suddenly feels like there is no home stretch and we're just in the dark. So it's often darkest before dawn. It's often feels the most stagnation around periods where there is a lot of release and surrender suddenly, and, you know, just great catapult movement kind of energy. So you will have to be patient with the forces and understand that, yeah, like, we're not in control of our timing as much as we think we are. It's really way more orchestrated from behind the scenes and above the above the clouds. So you really do have to become way more one with yourself in this next week. I would not spend time crying. Okay, we're gonna maybe cry over spilt milk, but I wouldn't worry about fighting over the crying of the spilt milk, right? Like, I wouldn't be getting into moral debates over what's right or wrong and what you can and can't feel and what's purposeful and not. And like, I wouldn't be negotiating your summations with that many people. I'd kind of be keeping them to yourself and just rolling through your new adjustments, because that's what I do see energetically, as we are just being just swished through this it's like a shake up and a shake down. So also, you're dealing with inner strength and how you attach to it. Are you going to shirk it and shy away from it, or are you going to embrace it and delve in? And that is part of why our first, second, and third are so stimulated during this period, so that we can delve deep, go in, take a good look, derive, and you know, rise above, basically. Just gonna see what else is coming up for me to speak about. Yeah, as much as we want a new beginning, we're just like a, you know, a little shy of its beginning. So batten down the hatches. The self-care thing is really important too, because as we start new beginnings, so do our ideas on, are we worthy of this new beginning? Have we worked hard enough for it? Is it our due? Is it time? Is it this? Is it that? What your undertone and your undercurrents are on an energetic, as far as what you're worth to yourself. You know, is it worth it for you to do this? So I feel like people are renegotiating obligations as well this week, almost like pushes come to shove, and you just you know, for those of us living a little closer to our edge, we're reaching it pretty quickly this week. And there's lots of people that be willing to take us there to it even faster. So I would really be careful of who you're playing with this week, and why, and what the object of your intentions are. And just get really clear on, are you looking for ease, or are you looking for more difficulty? And see how that affects you in your mind field and in your heart. So many of us are afraid to do some of the inner work. We don't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole, but the fact is, it's going to work us even if we don't want to work it. So you will be under these influences of things that just the universe wants to expel from your system and expel from your belief structure, and also expel from your sort of psychosomatic connection to yourself. Yeah, so it's going to be important also to keep in mind divine timing, divine timing, divine timing. Um, I just see constant movement behind the scenes. I also feel like things are being revealed to us, where we might have been in a bit of a haze or a bit of a cloud or a bit of a, I guess Neptune fog of sorts. We would be a little more clear cut in our visions right now. Just the question of whether we would be willing to accept them while we see them, and how willing we are to maneuver around them in our life so that we are more comfortable rather than less comfortable. So in the sense of being um yeah, just the sense of how well do you listen to yourself and your own inner guidance and your own um heartfelt desires that stir through you day to day. Like when you're not doing things, your heart's stirring, telling you it doesn't like it. So there are all kinds of other ways that your body and your mind and your psyche and everything that is all of you and your God is going to talk to you when things aren't copacetic, and you're going to get warning signals maybe to adjust. And this would be one of those periods where you really do want to um, keep close to your own impulses and your own. Often, we're most in tune when we feel we have nothing to go on, and I've seen it over and over and over again with people who land on my doorstep like they just don't think they're doing anything right, and I look at what's going on in them and I'm like, oh my God, you're so tuned into yourself, it's amazing. So sometimes connection doesn't feel familiar because we're not used to it, so we don't want to rely on it because we're not used to it. But the more you can dig into those parts of yourself that are just giving you information all day long, all day long, all day long, and the more you respect it and pay attention to it, then the better your life works overall, right? You're going to commit yourself to reducing your involvement with people that are too distracting for you to your own purposes, or that are going to not value who you are and take advantage of you. So it's all of these things. It's always reducing down to, do you care about yourself enough to um, maintain these interconnections to yourself? And even if you fight off this psychic sense that you have, because I know a lot of people shut it down, right? I go in and I try to open it up again so that you're still functioning in ways that help you, instead of dismantling all your parts. And once you get into that God space and the information that's coming into you, a lot of times people they'll scurry away from it. So challenge yourself this week to just allow it to be part of you. You don't have to do anything about it as much as you just have to acknowledge it and let the rest sort itself out, because you've got too much going on emotionally to be too worried about, this, well, yeah, I mean, it's all connected with spirit anyway, but it's just, it's not the week to be worrying about anything above your heart, basically, how you say it or how you see it or anything like that. It's way more to do with just how you feel it. Are you willing to love it on its way out the door? And are you willing for a new beginning? And are you willing to boogie in the void long enough for this new beginning to begin? Because we often will reach back into our past as we're waiting for our future, and then we're dragging all this stuff that doesn't belong in our next step forward in a world it doesn't belong in. So, be careful as you're structuring this new world for yourself, that you're not taking on dead weight and not moving things out of obligation, but rather out of devotion to the sense of where you want to be, how you want to feel when you get there. Full moons are great because they illuminate things. So, be open to seeing wider perspectives and If you don't like those wider perspectives, then definitely get the emotional support from strong members in your own community, ones that you trust, so that you can talk things out. Sometimes you just need to, you know, beat a dead horse one more time to get the right message, and then you can leave some things behind you. Not suggesting beating dead horses, of course, but you understand the idea. Also the sense of, oh my gosh, we're in the home stretch, we're in the home stretch, but it's never going to come. I mentioned that earlier. So pat yourself on the back for getting through probably one of the most challenging years you've had, as far as just, you know, how much you can trust the power structures in the world, right? Like, we all are probably asking ourselves, what is, and why? So settling into yeah, so finding the inner power, third chakra, and knowing what fight to fight and the why, right? I feel like I mentioned this last month or something, where, you can't be a renegade warrior in every realm of your life. You sort of have to pick where you're applying your expertise to, or your efforts to, in a way that are most beneficial, especially if you feel like you're here to serve mankind, or be of service to the planet in some way. Then you might feel like the momentum is building in that regard. But there's also just, it's like this time is just meant to, get us used to our new selves. Hey, a lot's changed, inner you. Guess what? You get to see how. And you might not understand it all yet, but you'll have better use of it in the coming months. And that's kind of the message from spirit to body, and all the inner workings of us. So be careful which gods you're worshiping. Are you worshiping gods that are, you know, going to serve you? Or are you, worshiping false gods and getting stuck on superficialities and the trappings? So that's another thing too. There are a ton of things that I feel as a collective people have been wanting to shed, wanting to get rid of, haven't quite been able to do it. Not quite yet, not quite yet. And I do see that there's just a way better chance of it happening in the next couple of weeks, and just finally getting to that next step in life generally. So and then heart chakra is really just asking us to be open. I mean, it's hard to stay open in any state of distress. So if you're, whatever, low energy, you're worried about finances, you just aren't sleeping, whatever your ails are, um, just understand that that's, like, sometimes the discomfort is the last thing we see before we get really comfortable. And then we do say a permanent goodbye to parts of ourselves or things that don't work for us. So if you had an ending ceremony this month with the moon around the time of the full moon, and it is a blue moon, so it's just more powerful and more emotional, because it's like we were raked over the coals during this whole last couple of weeks anyway. Like, I think it's been a really emotionally distressing period for people, and not so much because of anything happening on the world stage, but the torment at which we've been forced to address our inner sadnesses and pains and tribulations and past life karmas and things like that. So acquiesce, I guess, and give the universe the benefit of the doubt. I feel like some of us are moving into what I call a blind faith stage where, we might not get a ton of input from the universe and our guides and um, our helpful beings, but we're meant to fine tune our abilities to receive as we look for the information that we need. And so our receptors are being asked to be sharpened and honed. And that's in a state of reception in feminine mode as well, and understanding there is a time to everything. So what are you bringing out into the light that you know would prefer not to if you could leave, but you know what I mean? Like, you're just gonna have to look at some things. We all do. It's time to wring out that, wet washcloth and expel all the last emotional trappings as well, right? Like, the way that we feel about things trap us in ourselves just as much as anything else that might be, from an addiction to a person to a job to anything, like, oh, I need this job because I like the status that comes with it. That's going to keep you from doing all kinds of things if you let it. And um not that you have to do anything, but if the universe is moving to you, you're going to definitely want to pay attention. So yeah, I'm going to suggest that you just fine tune that inner working, fine tune the balance between male and feminine. There's some days you can charge through and be really over dominant masculine. There's other days you need to just be keeping it cool and being receptive and being open and waiting quietly for things to change is sometimes more profound than rushing ahead to ensure they do. And yeah, I just still keep getting this image of pick your fights, pick your battles. This is not a time like this week is the kind of explosive week because I just feel like it's wow, we might be in fall, but it sure feels hot. Let me say it that way. So just go with, just try not to fight, basically. You don't, especially if you're in weird dynamics that, are codependent of nature or the narcissist empath spectrum, or, power struggles within your home structure, that kind of stuff. Just because the frustration, it's like people are just, this whole year has really worn on people, and people's ends are frayed as well. If they haven't been doing their self-care and they haven't been stabilizing and haven't been able to keep faith and things like that going, then it's going to be, like, you don't want to just say something underhanded and have it turn into something really big when you don't have the time for that either, right? So just just be content in knowing that it's never going to look exactly the way you want it to. It's never going to turn out exactly the way you want it to. It could be better, could be way better. And keeping that open mind and that reception to the universe is going to be a better chance for you to manifest the good stuff in amidst all the other tumultuous stuff. So definitely keep yourself away from any negative influences at all as much as you can. And if you do have to be steeped in negativity for any length of time, do yourself the favor of detoxing with some kind of affirming sense of self afterwards. So whether that's through writing or I am affirmations or something like that, it'd be good to take that sweet care of yourself and don't rush. Don't rush. There's parts of our lives that can be so beautifully enjoyed without the pressure of having to, just do for doing's sake. And yeah. So yeah, I would say I would have a goodbye ceremony and bless the things that are, your inner nemesis. You might just need to say goodbye to your inner critic for a little bit, or goodbye to whatever archetype isn't really working for you right now, and just say sayonara, see you in the new year, and come back when you're better and stronger. Like, there are parts of you that you can say goodbye to too, that don't need to plague you, right? Like, you don't have to hold fast to some belief that actually isn't working for you. You could just go, screw it, I'm gonna cut these strings right now. So you do have the opportunity to create and build in a way that serves you best. Sometimes you just need the permission to do it, or the recognition that somebody else did it, so maybe you can too. So you may find yourself in situations where your limits are going to be under illumination, so that you can dissolve them and keep from holding yourself back from these parts of you that have been worked all these months for a reason, so that they can come out and work for you in the world. Yeah, so that's how I'm seeing the energies of it. I will do a tarot reading in a little bit, and yeah, enjoy your second moon, and yeah, hang in there. It is really the home stretch for so many of us, and then we're going to get into this more direct energy coming up with things not being so retrograded and backwards, and we'll feel like we can actually gather momentum. And I do get the sense too that it's a lot of us feel like we have no momentum, that we are going backwards and we've stagnated so much. So it's going to be fun, because we'll hit this point where the momentum kicks up and we'll realize how much we actually got done, and we've got the winds moving in the right direction with us, and that will be a huge relief as well for many. And I think a lot of people will be kind of wiping the sweat off their brow, like, oh, we did get to the top of the mountain. Actually, we didn't think we ever would, but we did. So yeah, may the force be with you. And hard work is recognized in the universe in ways that we don't always recognize in ourselves. So, allow things to come to you that are yours because you put the work into it too, and don't undermine your own beauty. Okay, be a good way to get through the next couple of weeks. And if you've got to, if you've got to be emotional and get it out, then just don't hurt yourself over hurt. Okay, like just let the hurt go, and yeah, find your bliss. That'd be good, wouldn't it? This is me. So thanks for coming, and subscribe or share if you'd like. I'd love that. It'd be great to know that this means something out there and it's helping. And go with the flow. That's the other most important thing. We're dealing with a very emotional week. Going with the flow and understanding where the flow is taking you, and moving through it as gracefully as possible will certainly help take some of the sting out of some of the pain that we're going to be washing through ourselves. A lot of growth and pain though, so I don't like to hear that on days that I'm in pain, but you know what I mean. You got to take it as it comes, everyone, and be good, find the good. Bye for now.